Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srīmade Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Vinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bhuter Mahatvir Yaimak Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamusha Purusha Bhute Gunan Shodashatmaka Solam Krisishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satatapivatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishideva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishideva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. So let's continue from yesterday's verse. We actually did not complete the explanations from there. So chapter 19, first canto of Srīmad Bhāgavatam, titled Appearance of Śukadeva Gosvāmī, text number 17. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Iti smaraja. Iti smaraja yavasaya yukta prachinamuleshu kusheshu dhiraha udanmukho dakshinakula aste samudrapatnya svasuta nyastabharaha. Translation: by His loving divine grace, I see Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīmad ki jai. In perfect self-control, Maharaj Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw with straw roots facing the east, placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, and he himself faced the north. Just previously, he had given charge of his kingdom over to his son. So 2 points are very important here. Firstly, Maharaj Parikshit, after receiving the news and renouncing everything, giving charge of his kingdom to his son. And the second thing, he was fully self-controlled. So let's meditate on these 2 points in this session. So once, when my Guru Maharaj was in Singapore, then at that time, after giving class, he was meeting with devotees who were there. And there was one new person who approached him. And Maharaj was having a casual conversation with him. And Maharaj asked him, "So what do you do?" And the person replied that I'm actually a prison officer in the highest security cell of Singapore prison, where people are sentenced to death and just awaiting to be executed. So Maharaj commented, "Oh, that must be a very horrible place. And these people may be very notorious and troublemakers and not so well behaved. So your job must be very difficult." And surprisingly, the person replied, "Actually, no. The job is very easy. And these people are very nice." How? Because once they hear that they are sentenced to death and they're about to die in 21 days, 31 days, 40 days, then their behavior and their personality completely changes. Now, this is the difference of getting the equation right. When we are convinced that, yes, in a certain time in future, our death is imminent, and we are very much aware, then automatically we will not take delight in self-pleasures. And therefore, number one, our senses will be under control and it will become under perfect alignment. Now, this is what happened to Gajendra as well. As yesterday we looked, that samadhaya manohriti. So mind is the center and the repository of all the experience of senses. And when we say evam vyapasito buddhya samadhaya manohriti, it means that the living entity has become aware of the fact that death is just at the doorstep, and therefore it is very easy to align our mind with the interest of the soul, which is in the heart. However, if we are addicted to sense gratification and sense control, then this becomes very, very difficult. Therefore, while we are healthy and in a nourished condition, it is better that we have and cultivate attachment to Krishna by utilizing our senses in his service. Another example our Guru Maharaj gave was that once Akbar and Birbal, they were having this conversation and disagreement. Birbal said that as a person grows older, then their sense control is wild. Wild meaning they don't have sense control. Why? Because most people are not aware that they will die. They know they will die, but they are living as if they'll live forever, consumed by addiction to sense gratification. They cannot make this alignment. But on the other hand, Akbar was saying, no, that is not true. As you grow older, naturally the power of senses reduce because the body becomes weak. So the person is no longer interested in sense gratification. Birbal said, I can practically prove my point. So Birbal took Akbar to an old person's home where he was on the deathbed about to die. But Birbal said, O king, bring along your young beautiful daughter. So the young beautiful daughter, Akbar and Birbal, they went to the hut of this old man about to die. So as soon as the old man saw, oh, the Pasha, the emperor, has come, he tried to stand up from the bed with folded hands. But as soon as he noticed that a young, beautiful daughter of the king was there, his eyes could not help but stare at the young girl and lustfully look at her, even though he's at the deathbed. So Birbal proved the point to Akbar that no, senses are not naturally coming under control as we grow older. The senses may become weak, but it doesn't mean that weak senses basically means that it's inability to indulge in sense gratification. However, weak senses does not mean that the desire to engage in sense gratification reduces. Actually, the desire increases and frustration increases. And that's why most old people, they end up being cranky and they end up having diseases like dementia, where the mind is no longer in a proper state. But if mind is offered to Krishna and senses, activities that we do is offered to Krishna, then this alignment becomes very, very easy. And as soon as a person knows or is aware of the fact, especially that yes, I'm about to die, I will die one day, then their focus becomes one-pointed, and their senses are fully under their control. So the second point there was that yes, see, handed over the responsibility of the kingdom to his son. So before we leave this body, we have to settle our material accounts, and that includes the emotional accounts, and that also includes the transactional accounts, like things that we had owned, like house, bank balance, superannuation, and so forth. We have to be free of all these things and just hand it over to the next generation. In terms of the emotional account is concerned, the person has to introspect, that is, forgive everyone, forgive themselves, and just move on. So in case of Maharaj Parikshit, we see that Maharaj Parikshit, in fact, was such a noble king that he was feeling guilty as he was going to Hastinapur after putting the death snake on the neck of Shamika Rishi. He realized that perhaps there's something not right I have done. Perhaps he was in Samadhi. And even if he was not on Samadhi, a Brahmana has never to be insulted in the way I did. And he immediately asks for this punishment as soon as he goes to the kingdom. Now, nowadays we see the leaders here, no matter how much wrong they do, they, basically say, yes, I'm in the power. The ego and the arrogance is so high that I will do whatever I like, and you are not, and you will not be able to do a damn thing about it. Such is the arrogance of the modern day leaders, even in the so-called spiritual field, we see. Why? Because they don't see their imminent death. But as soon as we are aware that, yes, we are about to die, then we become kind to other living entities and we show them respect. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was praying, yes, this punishment, I need to be punished. And I think previously, some time ago, we had mentioned that actually when a king is about to be coronated, then in the coronation ceremony, Rajya Abhisheka, there is a procedure where the king is handed the Dharma Danda. Dharma Danda means the stick of righteousness with which the king is supposed to rule. And when the king receives that Dharma Danda, the stick of righteousness, then the ritual is that the king repeats 3 times, Adan Dios me, Adan Dios me, Adan Dios me, that I am the king, I am the emperor, I'm Adandya, means I am unpunishable. No one can punish me, no one can punish me, no one can punish me. But behind the king, when this ritual is going on, is the spiritual master of the king. And he also has a dharma danda, a stick of righteousness. And from behind, with the stick, the spiritual master taps on the shoulder of the king. And 3 times he says, Dharma dandosi, Dharma dandosi, Dharma dandosi, that you are not adandya, you are not unpunishable. If others do something wrong, then you will punish them. But if you do something wrong, then the dharma, the universal force of righteousness, which is set forth by Krishna, that will punish you. So Maharaj Parikshit is praying that please, a great calamity come upon me as punishment for the wrong that I have done. And he receives the news of his imminent death due to the curse of Shringi. And Maharaj Parikshit becomes very, very happy and very, very pleased. Yes, this befits. And the beautiful thing is, in the few verses before we looked at, Maharaj Parikshit sees Krishna in form of the Shringi Brahmana's case. He does not see that as something bad. No, he sees Krishna in form of Shringi Brahmana's cares, and therefore he receives the cares gracefully and with dignity. And this is how we have to do in our life as well. Any reverses that come, we have to take it that yes, due to my past karmas, this has been ordained by providence. And there's no use fighting it. Our Guru Maharaj used to say there are two kinds of disease. One kind of disease, it comes and it goes. But the other kind of disease, it comes to take us. So we have to be intelligent enough to recognize which disease is which. And when a terminal disease comes to take us, then we have to just surrender and give up. And similarly, in old age also, we have to be cognizant of this fact that old age means death is imminent. Death can come anytime, as yesterday we looked. It can be instant, it can be by disease, can be prolonged, and finally, it can be due to natural old age. And in all three circumstances, we have to prepare ourselves. The question of forgiving for Maharaj Parikshit was not even there because he did not regard anyone as his enemy. And he actually was indebted to the Shringi Brahmana that yes, a right thing has happened. And the golden rule our Guru Maharaj always says that whenever there is some conflict, the first and the foremost thing we should do is say, yes, it is my fault. Our natural response mechanism is that we need to justify that others are wrong. We may put a show of being broad-hearted. Yes, I am very tolerant. I'm tolerating them. Even though they are wrong, I am tolerating them. But actually, no, that is not the way. The first thing, we have to take responsibility of our relationships and just say, yes, I am wrong. This situation has arisen because of my fault. And as soon as we do that, almost 90% of the resolution has been reached. And the 10% remaining is very easily executed. Now, someone may say that, hey, hang on, but I'm right. But the question is, when you have to board the train to go to another destination, then whether you are right or wrong, does that matter? Or what matters is that you board the train. If you keep fighting with the porter who's carrying your luggage, then you will miss the train. So our focus is on Krishna, and therefore we want to just board that train. Now, the third thing that Maharaj Parikshit became completely detached. Now, when we do devotional service, we say we do devotional service in the mode of detachment. This is a famous verse from Srīmad Bhāgavatam. Savai nivritti dharmena vasudevanukampaya bhagavad bhakti yogena tirodattai shanehya. That in mode of detachment, one should do devotional service. What does mode of detachment mean? Mode of detachment means that we are not detached. But when we are doing devotional service, we are cognizant of the fact that we should be detached. Why? Because one day we will die and everything will end. So, in this relation, Vritasur actually does a wonderful prayer. He says, Mamottama shloka janeshu sakhyam samsara chakre brahmata swakarmabhi. That Mama Uttama shloka janeshu sakhyam. I desire friendships with those Jan persons who are constantly glorifying you, my Lord, through the Uttama shloka, best of selected verses. although samsara chakre bhramata swakarmabhi, due to my own misdeeds in this cycle of birth and death, samsara chakre, I am wandering. And your illusory energy is having this great bondage to my wife, to my children, to my house, and so forth. However, asakta chittas nananat bhuyat. However, I don't desire to remain attached to them anymore. I don't desire to be attached to them anymore. So this is the first step towards detachment. And this is called mode of detachment. What? That although I'm attached, I desire not to be attached to these things anymore. But Parikshit Maharaj is not in this mode. Parikshit Maharaj has already detached. And he has left everything, and he has not detached irresponsibly. No, he has created a succession plan well before. So we also need to create a succession plan, be in any position or any service. We find, especially our movement in Australia at the moment, is challenged because there is a lack of succession plan. And this should happen at the level of service, even any service we take up. So example, we take up a service of becoming a pujari. Then before we take the service up, we should decide when will I leave this service. Meaning that when will I train someone else to do this service? And when that person becomes competent, then I can do some other service, some other higher preaching work, and so forth, or the other. When I become a president or vice president, secretary, treasurer, whatever it may be, okay, I'll take up this service. But when will I resign from that service? And in the meantime, when will I empower someone else and train them to take up that service? So Parikshit Maharaj was very well acquainted, and he had a succession plan not only in place, but immediately he put his son in charge and handed over the keys to the treasury and the seat of the throne to him. But what are we doing? Do we have a succession plan in place? And are we responsibly dealing with this matter? There is a pastime. I remember a young brahmachari in Chaupati temple. He was a personal servant of Radhanath Swami, but he had some desire to get married. And Radhanath Swami, arranged for his marriage. And he stayed Maharaj many, many years. But soon after marriage, by providence, he was diagnosed with cancer. And it was quite a late stage. So he could not be treated. Young wife is there, and this brahmachari who had now entered Grahastha life is about to die. And the whole congregation of Chaupati temple, the brahmacharis, his friends, Radhanath Swami, they surrounded him, during his final days. And one of the things that they requested to his wife, who was also a very elevated devotee, is that at this time of death, so that his senses and his mind is not diverted, it would be good if you not be present in front of him. Let him exclusively and completely meditate on Krishna. And this may be very difficult for some people to understand, but it is very important. Devhuti Mata was very much attached to her husband Kardama Muni. But Kadam Muni, in due course of time, leaves the house to attain perfection in devotional service, even though Krishna had come to his house in form of his own son. So this system of learning in brahmacharya, earning in grahastha, turning in vanaprastha, and returning in sannyasa, or the stages of life. I mean, we may not formally take up, vanaprastha or sannyas ashram, but internally we have to take up the sentiment of the varnashrama of vanaprastha and sannyasa. That is, we have to turn our head towards Krishna and turn it away from everything else, including our attachment to family members. Yes, we have to do it responsibly. And we have to completely return. Remember, our soul is in our heart. And if our heart has already reached Krishna, then no obstacle will be an obstacle. I don't know whether I told that story yesterday. I think I did, where the guy goes for an expedition to climb Himalayas, but the conditions are treacherous, and he says, my heart has already reached the peak, and therefore my body will follow. So Devuti Mata, even though she's so attached, she says to Kapila Muni, Tam tva gataham, that tam onto you, tva, I approach gataham, I have come to you. And what am I doing? Sharanam Sharanyam. I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet, who is the only worthy shelter. So Prabhu's Mataji's Krishna is the only worthy shelter. Only he can deliver us from the cycle of birth and death. Do we want to come back again in this material world of birth and death? Swabhritya samsarataro kutaram. Only Krishna, for his devotees, Swabhritya, he ends the tree of samsara, birth and death, by kutharam. Kutharam means axe. With the axe, he cuts down this tree. And jignasaya prakrite purushasya, that one who is eager to understand that the Purusha and Prakriti, they are not supposed to be mixing. We are all Prakriti, but we are trying to be Purusha. But we are supposed to be enjoyed by Krishna. And in this art and in this form, when we surrender to Krishna, who is Vidamba Sreshta, who is transcendental to everything and everyone, then our success is assured. And we see how Parikshit Maharaj will ask in the assembly of devotees now the question of what one person who is about to meet death especially should do. And in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first chapter, first 5 verses are such wonderful verses by Śukadeva Gosvāmī. I remember previously the BBT used to print the paperback copies. And, as a young student, I got hold of that. And just reading those 5 verses and the paper, beautiful paper of Srila Prabhupada, is enough to convince everyone. I wanted to cover those verses today, but due to lack of time, I won't be. But I, would request you all to go back, get the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam out, and look at those 5 verses, the first 5 verses, and read especially Prabhupada's purports, and it should, create a great impression upon ourselves to take this path of devotional service. My apologies, I've gone a bit over time. Any questions or comments, Prabhus and Matajis?
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I especially like there's some point of action when you said that we must prepare for when we will retire from a particular, or when we will hand over a particular service to someone else. That was a great point, because often we become very attached to the services we are looking after. And then more than in the mode of goodness, we are in the mode of passion, because we are so attached to the service that we can't even think about someone else leading it. But if we hand over, then on the offset, there'll be so much newness in the service. There will be so much more creativity, more energy, more enthusiasm. So that is better for our preaching as well, for ourselves and the world itself as well. So that was a great point, Prabhu. Thank you.
Definitely, Mataji. If we look at Srila Prabhupada, what was his greatest contribution? His greatest contribution was that he trained so many disciples in carrying this movement forward. And he did not want to be a manager. He did not want to be a leader. He just wanted to be absorbed in Bhagavatam and chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And ultimately, we also have to do the same. At the last breath of our life, we won't be recognized by, or whether I was a temple president, or whether I was a GBC, or whether I was in charge of this, or I started this. No, our ability to just focus purely on Krishna, his names and his pastimes, that's what will matter. No, thank you, Mataji, for bringing that point up.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, on a personal note, I always feel that thinking about death brings renunciation and also a little bit of depression, in the sense that why then struggle so much? Let me just go and do bhajan. This is my personal outlook. But then for a few months or sometime now, I've been contemplating, hey, Krishna also works. And look at Brahma. He wakes up and he sees all his working of the yesterday, like it all finishes and he starts again. So if they have to work, I have to work too. And then what is my motivation? Again, because death is imminent. So I just think of how you say, Prabhu, when you meet someone, you ask, how closer are you to Krishna? So I ask my question. So today, how I can go closer to Krishna? So that's my approach these days. Otherwise, it's too depressing to think about death.
Yes, and it takes a bit of absorption and training in these matters. But when we look at devotees who are advanced, kalam pratiksham, they are actually eager to meet death, because for them, death is a happy occasion when they will meet the Lord. And we should train our minds in embracing death, like how Maharaj Parikshit is doing here. And he's not frightened at all. The fright goes away when one is completely detached. And so, I mean, these verses and leading on to the second canto, first chapter verses, they are so nice, and that these will make us definitely advance if we hear them carefully and try to work our lives through these verses. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, can I share something also?
Please, Prabhuji.
When we generally think, we hear about these personalities passing away, but these are all just mentioned in scripture. So we think, oh, they're like far out for us. I cannot even come anywhere close, so why try? But then when we hear, I would request everyone to find out the passing away of devotees like Tribhuvanath Prabhu in the UK, the manner, His Grace Shruti Dharma Prabhu, then Vichitra Virya Prabhu, who was a Prabhupada disciple, who was suffering from motor neuron disease. Everything below his neck was not working. And the devotees were chanting when he was going to depart. And then the devotees were very tired, and like in the middle of the night, they were like dozing off, and there was some interruption in chanting, and nothing else was working in his body, but only his consciousness was working. And when the devotees stopped chanting because they were dozing off, Vichitra Virya Prabhu will say, Krishna, Krishna. He couldn't even speak. But these are the stalwarts. We can see that they were present among us. It's not that these are the devotees only mentioned in the pages of scriptures. So it's not that is not possible for us. It's actually possible for each one of us here. I just wanted to make that point, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And even, Krishna Yatra, we have seen some glorious departures. Jai Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. And
Thank you,
let's
Prabhu.
meditate.
Nice class.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for beautiful class.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.